Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
The Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association serves as the advocate for the building industry, advancing professionalism and promoting community involvement. We are a positive force for responsible growth while protecting property rights and the privilege of home ownership. 3 out of every 5 jobs is touched in some manner by construction in our region. Growth generates jobs, maintains our property values, and builds and updates our infrastructure. Join us Friday mornings for the Construction Connection with the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association and the Big Talker FM.
It's a little different now. It's, it's May here at the Big Talker Network. And we're getting smacked so many times by the YouTube bots. We're getting all kinds of copyright strikes. And it's like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm going to spend a couple hours with GarageBand. And we're going to test how royalty-free this stuff is, right? So anything that I make using GarageBand on my iPad is apparently free to use in any way that I see fit. Therefore, I'm going to use more of the GarageBand loops just for fun to get around this copyright striking left and right. This is ridiculous. Anyway. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker. We've added some scheduling changes, so mornings from midnight to 6 a.m. you can enjoy performances from The Voice and the Pen, the songwriters cooperative that I am a part of on Wednesday nights. We do a live stream. You can catch that on the Big Talker starting this week. Started a little radio station by accident, if you want to call it that, for The Voice and the Pen, and all those performances are going to be added. So, right now it's a 3-hour collection. Soon it'll be 6, 9, 12, 15, 24, 38, 72 hours. Non-stop, 24/7 original singer-songwriter performances. Midnight to 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, midnight to 10 a.m. on Saturday, and midnight to 8 on Sunday. So as not to interfere with the quality local content produced by our friends like Andrew Donaldson at 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. Repeat at 3 p.m. And of course, Saturday at 10 a.m. is the Consumer Choice Radio. That's the premiere. And then on Sunday at 8 a.m. is the Twice on Sunday. It's the interviews extracted and curated from the previous week. We also have Guns, Politics, and Freedom, and I am distraught. I am disappointed. I am, what's the word? I regret to inform listeners that Paul Valone will not be able to join us this morning. I was looking forward to that conversation as we get closer to election. The Grassroots North Carolina organization is in full force. As Bill Moore, who will be joining us shortly, has mentioned before, the people choose the primaries, right? Choose the candidates in the primaries. That's what the primaries are for. And then the GOP can get busy on supporting and getting people out to vote and who to vote for and that sort of thing. But Grassroots North Carolina, their entire purpose, well, I can't say their entire purpose because I'm not there, but one of their strong points, strong foci, is to inform people as to how they rate candidates, both in the primary, and all the people, everybody, all across 100 districts. I mean, they're in it. They are in it to win it. And of course, of course, what am I saying? So one of the things that, being an ignoramus in the political arena is certainly to appreciate their direct, open honesty that, this is who we are and this is the lens through which we see these clients, right? And if you have trouble understanding that reference, I'm going to try to help you visualize it. If you've ever seen Sir David Attenborough doing some nature documentary with insects specifically, they have a segment where they describe the differences in the way bugs view the world and the way we view the world. What we consider visible light is a very narrow band of the electromagnetic or the RF frequency, the spectrum. There's X-rays and there's ultraviolet, right? These are things, microwaves and VLRs and that sort of thing. So bugs see things usually from an ultraviolet point of view, and everything looks different in ultraviolet. Well, same thing. So if you change your lens from something of visible light to something of what is this politician really about? His rhetoric on TV and those 30-second sound bites are how they burn through the millions and millions of dollars that they raise each year. But seldom do those advertisements reveal the true character, at least in certain aspects, of a candidate. And in the case of Grassroots North Carolina, they look at as much of that candidate as they possibly can from the own survey, right? The survey they send out for candidates to fill out for themselves. It's in their best interest to do so. But they also look into things like voting records on different issues. And those you can't really hide from. That's public record. If you voted for this or against that, that's now, or that's permanent. That's a reflection. All your comments, all your rhetoric, everything that a politician says is pretty much, recorded in stone. And it can be used to bludgeon you to death or to build you up. Choose wisely. Now, as I mentioned, the big talker schedule is changing a little bit. A few of the techniques are changing a little bit. And it's all a wonderful build. But it would not be the Asylum if I didn't bring you stories that nobody else can or will. All right? There is a lot of heavy-duty stuff going on in the world, and there are thousands of channels out there covering exactly that. Have fun. I don't know enough about it to even begin, but I can opine on the Business Insider article by Zara Tayeb. If you haven't had breakfast yet, I'm sorry for you. Tropicana has created a limited edition cereal designed to be eaten with orange juice poured over it instead of milk. Now, if there's anything more gross than drinking orange juice and chewing bubble gum, we got a new one for you. The unique product will be available to purchase on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. To commemorate National Orange Juice Day. Like, what? Really? Per a company press release. Because whether you hate it or love it, you won't know until you try it, the press release said. Oh, no. The cereal, named Tropical Crunch, includes honey almond clusters that are made to be drowned in OJ. And they're referring to orange juice. That's what they mean. According to the company, it is the first cereal of its kind. I don't doubt that. Tropicana did not immediately respond to insiders' requests for comments made outside of normal working hours. Orange juice on cereal. Some call it weird, some call it breakfast. We Didn't even know it was a thing, Tropicana said. It added, however, that according to a recent survey, 15 million Americans eat cereal with orange juice poured over it instead of milk. Those same 15 million people vote. See the problem? Following the announcement, people took to Twitter to express their excitement while others disapproved of the new product. I can't wait. Tropicana Crunch sounds awesome, one user said. His comments were followed by another who wrote, I can't think of anything less healthy than sugar poured on top of carbs. Yeah, this is not the first limited edition product Tropicana has launched in recent years. Last year, Tropicana introduced a limited edition toothpaste. Hang on. Whoa. I wasn't ready for that. Last year, Tropicana introduced a limited edition toothpaste as a prize for customers who entered a sweepstake. It was designed to combat the unpalatable flavors people experience when drinking orange juice after brushing their teeth. While I can relate to that, Tropicana toothpaste is different from other toothpaste because it was specifically designed to protect the delicious taste of orange juice, the company told Food and Wine at the time. That's brutal, ladies and gentlemen. So I couldn't personally do a cereal with orange juice poured on top. I remember as a kid wondering who the hell thought this was a balanced breakfast. Right? Because all the kids' cereals loaded with all the good stuff growing kids need. And they would say part of a balanced, complete and balanced breakfast or whatever. And they would show like a plate of bacon, a couple of waffles, 2 or 3 eggs, some toast, and then a glass of juice. And I'm like, I was doing good if my mom didn't put salt on my Cheerios, right? Not a morning person on some days. Yeah, you knew it was going to be a bad day when you opened the pantry and there's the milk. And you open the fridge and, oh, there's the salt. Yeah, I needed that on my cereal. That'll get me going. Yep. So now you have the option of sloshing your orange juice onto a crunchy cereal. I mean, they don't have, I can't see a, I can't see a lid for this thing. I can't see, there's no label, right? Tropicana Crunch, but is it a flavor or is it just like oats? Like would you feed a horse, right? I mean, what can you put? I mean, you could pour orange juice over a cheesecake, I guess, and call it breakfast. But I don't really know what you would put into crunchy little nuggets to cover with orange juice so that it's not, I don't know. Just weird. That's a story that only you would get here. Yeah. Can you believe it? I didn't think so. And again, bright and early on a Monday morning, you can listen to all the bad stuff and name calling and yelling that the other stations are doing. Here, we're going to make fun of American culture. And if you don't believe me, we're going to dial the clock back to 1959. If anybody remembers Speedy, if you don't remember Speedy, please play along and you'll find out. Article published by Sarah Smart of CNN. Couple found a 1950s McDonald's bag with French fries inside wall during home renovations. Cold French fries are bad enough, but cold old French fries are even worse. That's the surprise from Ronald McDonald that one Illinois couple stumbled upon during home renovations. On April 16th, Rob and Gracie Jones were doing work on their 1959 Crystal Lake home located about 50 miles northwest of Chicago. Suddenly, they found a decades-old McDonald's bag behind one wall. Rob was in the bathroom replacing the old toilet paper fixture, Gracie told CNN Wednesday, and as he pulled the fixture out, he noticed a rolled-up piece of cloth bunched up inside the wall. The couple had no idea they were about to discover decades-old fast food. At this point, we're both looking at each other, wondering if we'd be calling the police because we just uncovered evidence from a crime scene. But we were very relieved to have just found the old McDonald's bag. Then they took the bag into their kitchen and carefully opened it. Inside, they found 2 hamburger wrappers and some half-eaten decades-old French fries that were crispy and brown. We saw the fries and were like, this is unreal. How on earth are these fries still in this bag, and how are they preserved so well? More on that later, ladies and gentlemen. It was wild, Gracie added. Okay, McDonald's fries are usually known for their salty scent, but the couple said there was no smell to these relics. Desiccated. Gracie said they picked up a few of the fries and were surprised at how sturdy they were despite their decrepit appearance. That's how they looked when they were made. Okay, wait, we'll get that. Researching the logo on the bag, they discovered the couple learned it was used in McDonald's production from 1955 to 1961. They also found that one of the area's original McDonald's was built down the street from their home in 1959, the same year their house was built. The bag even contained the original mascot for the fast food chain, Speedy. You don't remember him, do you? CNN has contacted McDonald's about the unusual find and is awaiting comment. For now, the couple has the ancient meal in storage. What? And aren't sure what to do with it. Throw it away. We'd be happy to sell it, or if not, we'd probably keep it as a cool piece of history, Gracie said. Okay, this is how hoarding starts. I mean, if you want to end up on hoarders, then yeah, go ahead. You're right on track. But I'm not really sure. Yeah. Okay, so this is only an extension of experiments that you can find all over YouTube and all over the interwebs, okay? And you can say they're fake, you can say whatever. I mean, well, they were only testing for this and whatever. Okay, so here's a real-world example that I don't care where you live in the United States, you have bugs in your house. And your bugs will eat whatever food you don't. And they will get to it. They will tear into the cloth. They will tear into the paper. They will get to the food. Now, if you noticed, there were no bugs. And it had not been eaten at all. Nothing. This is not food, ladies and gentlemen. These are processed chemicals pressed into shapes with textures and painted, stained, dyed different colors so that you are instinctively drawn to the consumption of this crap, which by every other experiment on the planet, here is a real world example that after 50 years, 60 years, right? Damn near 70 years. Yes, okay, so 56, yeah, easily half a century. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. This hamburger had been it didn't even rot. All it did was desiccate. All it did was dry out. It wasn't eaten by bugs. It wasn't, nothing. It didn't rot, nothing. It didn't stink, nothing. I mean, because somewhere along the line, like if you leave real food in a situation like that, you would have a bug infestation and a rotten, decomposition smell and everything else. But this food has been so sterilized as to be incompatible with the humans. It's incompatible with life on the planet. Nobody wants it. The bugs don't want it. The dogs don't. A starving dog maybe. And that was in 1959. So if somebody is ever going to say that, hey, Ray Kroc was developing and, producing and selling a great product back in the day that was good for you. Yeah, here's your proof. 1959, before Ronald McDonald even popped on the scene. They had Speedy, a little outline drawing. He didn't even make personal appearances, and he sure as hell never built a hospital. Oh, by the way, I think that hospital, is sort of a way of making up for the fact that they're making all these kids sick. How's that Happy Meal working out for you, huh? And it's thanks to crap like McDonald's that has contributed to the ridiculous incident rate of obesity in all ages, not just children. And the consumption fad of such crap by painting it so pretty and putting dancing little figures in front of it. Because if you get the kids addicted, they're going to drive the parents crazy. Let's go to McDonald's. I want a Happy Meal. We get a toy. Gross. Anyway, just thought you might want to have a friendly reminder of the type of, wonderful products that America is known for. Right? Very few other countries that I can think of have developed a fast food chain to the level of McDonald's, Wendy's, etc. They tried it with hot dog. They've done a couple with chicken. But, for the most part, Meat Wad, Frylock, and Master Shake is pretty much the go-to eat-out, dining meal. They served more McDonald's in a day than a restaurant does in a year. It's just ridiculous. They tightened up their operation during the pandemic, man. They had like double lanes going and were running at almost the efficiency of one of those double lane Chick-fil-A deals. It's just ridiculous. In fact, I had to drive by one of the newer Chick-fil-A with the mega layout, and it reminded me of a playset I had as a kid, right? It was like the ultimate little race car garage and start area. That's where you connected all the little power leads so you could do the slot cars, but it was made to look like it was the pit row area. That's what it looked like, man. It looked like they were processing, go-karts at an amusement ride or something. It was weird. It's like, dang, man, not even take a number. They had it. That's pretty amazing. If they could get some of our other processes to work along those lines, maybe privatizing sections of the government isn't such a bad idea. It takes months just to get an appointment so you can change the address on your license. However, you can walk right into the privatized license joint here in Hampstead, and it has yet to be more than 10 or 15 minutes total. But I digress. We're going to take a quick break, and at the when we return, we will be joined by our friend Bill Moore from the show All Things Brunswick, which airs on Tuesday nights. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. Paid parking has begun in one area beach town. The town of Holden Beach began enforcing paid parking Sunday, and it will be enforced daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Free parking is available before and after those hours. All parking will use license plates for verification. If you're heading to Holden Beach, download the mobile app Surfcast by Otto. You'll also be able to purchase passes by scanning the QR codes on parking signs. Work is set to begin Monday on a Brunswick County bridge that's nearly a half-century old. The bridge at Mako Road on Highway 87 over Bad Aurora Branch will be demolished and rebuilt. It's expected to slow traffic for the next several months as Mako Road will be closed. Drivers will be detoured onto Highway 7476 and Interstate 140. The $1.2 million project should be finished by the fall. A hero's welcome for veterans of the Cape Fear area at a special event over the weekend at Wilmington International Airport. A large group gathered at ILM to welcome veterans returning home from Washington, D.C. Family, friends, and community members cheered as more than 70 World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War era veterans and their guardians returned from their trip with honor flight of the Cape Fear area. Landing in D.C. earlier in the day, veterans visited the memorials and monuments built in their honor for a day of remembrance. In the western part of our state, streets near the Blue Ridge Parkway wildfire are reopening as the fire gradually becomes contained. According to the U.S. Forest Service, the fire near Asheville has now grown an estimated 370 acres and is 50% contained. The fire, now named the Barnett Branch Fire, has been burning since Wednesday, April 27th. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast, and get ready for a warm week here in the Cape Fear. We're expecting temperatures to climb into the middle and perhaps the upper 80s well inland of the coast today. Coastal areas will reach the middle and upper 70s later this afternoon, and I can't rule out an isolated shower as the sea breeze fires up later today, but most areas will stay dry and quiet. And then overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us as our temperatures drop down to the middle and upper 60s in the low 70s as well. Get your full forecast from WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Only one candidate for clerk of court has the experience needed to keep our courts running efficiently and criminals off our streets. That candidate is conservative Republican Catherine Adams. Adams has a 20-year record of accomplishments, including serving as deputy director of the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts, where she was responsible for the oversight of the human resources and financial management for all 6,200 employees of the state court system, and personally managed hundreds of employees and tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. She's also been awarded the state's highest civilian award, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for her public service. That's why Clerk of Court Jim McCallum says Catherine Adams is the one person most qualified to be our next Clerk of Court. Early voting begins on April 28th, and the primary election is on May 17th. So remember to vote for experience, vote for leadership, vote for qualifications, and vote for proven conservative Republican Catherine Adams for Brunswick Clerk of Court.
Paid for by the Committee to elect Catherine Adams Clerk of Court.
Listen to Tom Goolsbee on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Yes. Oh, here we go. I need this one. Okay. So it seems that since I've been getting a lot of copyright strikes from YouTube, I went to create my own little bits of music to use, and we'll see what happens. If I still get copyright strikes, I will be in search of a lawyer. Well, joining me right now, whoops, I got his name totally misspelled on the screen here, so let me just turn that off and I'll fix it as he introduces himself. Let's try that again. Man, I'm just not doing so good this morning. Here we go. So, all right. Mr. Bill Moore from he's the president of the Brunswick County GOP, joining us from an undisclosed location.
I'm actually the chairman because we don't have a
chairman.
President.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the county doesn't do presidents, but if you take the president's job, there's no room for improvement.
You see this is how little I know about the political process.
But anyway, I want to thank you for having me on board on us again this week. I think we do a good job working with each other and having some fun and talking.
Well, certainly once I figure out what's going on. It's Monday. I've had the coffee. It's a little crazy.
Yeah, well, it's been a busy weekend for everybody, so I understand the Monday morning blues.
And you have some shows. You said you had a special event coming up next week.
Yep, we have a bunch of stuff to talk about this morning. The show tomorrow night is going to be an interesting one. We have the ladies group coming on for a part of it to talk about the fact that on this Thursday, they're doing a candidate forum with almost 20. Last thing I heard was over 20 candidates showing up and giving people, again, a chance to look at candidates prior to going into early vote. So, any chance we can educate the voter is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So that's important. A week from tomorrow night, we have a really special show going on. I've been able to convince my counterparts in New Hanover and Pender County to come on the show with me, and I'm going to trade my co-host hat to be a guest, and the three of us will be sitting there and answering questions and explaining what's going on in our various counties. So that should be an interesting time.
That does sound like fun. And you're going to cover a lot of issues, or are you just going to, like throw rocks and...
No.
No.
The point of the matter is to talk about issues for the party, the country. We'll be talking about early voting because we're in the last week of it at that point. And then, plus I don't know what's going to be, believe it or not, Dan and Mary will not tell me what the questions will be. So I have no idea till I get there.
Tell us something about you nobody knows.
Yeah, and we won't go there right now. But anyway, it should be a lot of fun. By the way, I had a great weekend. Sunday at the Jetport in in Southport. There was an activity run by one of our judges, Sarah McPherson, running for a court, John David, who's our district attorney, and our sheriff, John Ingram. And they got with Katie Madden, who's running for clerk of court, and they did a family fun day for a couple hours. They had music. They gave out free hot dogs. They had some clowns there. They had a couple of bouncy houses going on, and a good time was had by everybody. And it really was a lot of fun. Even a couple of extra trucks drove in, the food trucks, mobile food trucks, any place they can sell some stuff. So we had an ice cream guy come in and whatever else. But it was a good time. Some of the other candidates for school board, Todd Coring and my friend Randy Fresnel showed up, and also Preston showed up, who's running for court, and Art Darnell, who's running for county commissioner in Brunswick. So they were all there, though it was sponsored by the first four people. And people had a good time for a couple hours. I really enjoyed myself.
Was that the list of clowns? I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
Clown. Nice try. We actually had some clowns dressed up, walking around, playing with the kids, blowing up some balloons for the kids. It was a good time. It was probably 10% political and 90% fun.
Nice.
The nice thing, people just had a good time listening to some music, having some food, talking with their neighbors, and if they wanted to talk to one of the candidates or the sheriff, they're walking around. They can engage at their own choice. So I think it was a great event, and people had a good time there. So that was fun.
Can't imagine a more beautiful place to do that than Southport in the first place.
Yeah, and this was right on the airport property. So it was nice. Actually, it was fun. I was half expecting. In the middle of it, they also have parachute jumping.
Oh, yeah, or the bandit flight team. That would have been awesome.
Well, they had some guys parachuting out and floating in, and I kept waiting for someone to open up a banner in support of somebody, but nobody evidently thought of it. So, but it was good to watch the guys. We have those teams that do that, but I don't know what it costs anymore, and I'm sure it's not cheap.
No.
But good time was had for all. Now, I'm going to share with you some information that concerns me for Brunswick County, and I can't see that it became much different in other places. After 3 days of early voting, and this is closing Saturday night, in Brunswick County, we have 121,000 voters.
Already?
No, that's what the total registered voters is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, of which about 27,000 are Democrat. Republicans have just under 49,000, and unaffiliated is just over 45,000. But again, that's 121,000, and there's some libertarians there for about 665. But putting that number in place, 100, and libertarians couldn't vote in the primary because they had nobody running. So they're the only ones that had no ballot this time. So take it down to round it off to 121,000. In 3 days, they only processed just under 1,200 people. That's not even 1%. That's just short of 1%.
That's pretty low turnout.
Yeah, and that's what concerns me. 3 days into it, including a weekend, a Saturday.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a Kanye West performance. This is voting for, like, the people running your cities. And, man, wow.
Yes.
1%. I mean, you talk about apathetic, but people will throw money at somebody dressed up in a bikini singing off-key using a computer to tune it. But we can't get them to come out to vote. Something is wrong.
And the apathy, we see people, I'm hoping in the next 13 to 14 days pick up, but the first 3 days are disappointing overall in just voting numbers because, there's so many issues out there that are either aggravating or inspiring people to get involved. And this is their chance to get involved and show how they feel because parties don't pick candidates. So if you don't vote for who you think should be the one running, in my opinion, you've lost the right to complain when someone else sits there.
And it does better to vote than it does to march around with a brightly colored day glow painted sign with some cutesy little meme on it. Really, this is where it matters.
This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where it counts. Now, following through a little bit more, of those 1,192 voters, 543 asked for. We can't track how you voted, but we can track what ballot you asked for because you asked for a Republican and Democratic ballot. So that's recorded to control numbers to make sure that we have the right number of ballots here, there, and everywhere. So of the 1,192 ballots that were cast this weekend or these last 3 days, 543 were people asked for Republican ballots. 543 voters were Republicans, 329 were Democrats, and 320 were unaffiliated people. Now, of the unaffiliated, there's a plus sign there for the Republican Party. Unaffiliated who asked for the Republican ballot were 221, and the unaffiliated who asked for a Democratic ballot were 99. So the Republicans drawing better than 2-1 on at least ballot requests. Now, how they vote, that's not for us to know, but it's good to know that people are coming. The unaffiliated are 2-1 asking for the Republican ballot, from my viewpoint.
That is pretty low. That's
all around. People need to get out.
But it might be. I mean, is it usually better this early? Like, do we have a metric to compare to, a standard of some sort that we would have, 10% by this point, or?
Well, traditionally, this kind of an off season only draws, depending on who the individual candidates, you'll only draw maybe 20% of the people voting, maybe, and even less than that on the muni weekends. So, we've got to get people up and voting. I don't care who you vote for, well, I do, but at this point, I'm more concerned that you at least vote and participate. And I'm encouraging you to get out there and support the candidates of your choice and vote.
Now, this is because I'm not the brightest kid. When the ballot, when people are voting at this point, are there any issues other than primary candidates on the ballot?
No, this is there are no
issues or bonds or
none of the above. It's just strictly the candidates in each party.
Okay. Now, the reason why I ask, and this is, part 2 of the I'm not the brightest kid on the planet, is Holden Beach part of Brunswick County?
Yes, it is.
They started paid parking this weekend.
Yes, they do.
Now, is this trend, do you think, going to continue, that no longer public free beach access?
I hope not, but I fear it's going to be because the municipalities are always looking for more money. Though,
yeah, they call it found revenue, and I find that to be pretty offensive. And I think,
and I found, for example, my numbers may be a little off, but I found that when Carolina Beach and New Hanover County went to year-round charge for parking, I think what they made up was only maybe $60,000, maybe, and I may be off a few dollars.
Well, that's what they were projecting. Are you Carolina Beach, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, they projected somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 and made less than 30.
Well, again, one of the
people were livid.
Well, I know they are, and rightly so. And then there was a real battle over getting passes to allow locals and or the county people who pay there normally to at least get some relief when they come to use the beaches. But what I'm thinking in Brunswick, we are, last figures I saw, we are number one in the state for growth, and I think we're in the top 5 nationwide for growth. So what I'm seeing is a lot of housing going in, and that will provide additional revenue to municipalities when it's in their area. Now, yes, they have to worry about infrastructure and schools, but in many cases in Brunswick, at least the water and sewer lines are pretty much where they need to be, and they can hold for maybe 5 or 10 years without any big issue with growth. And schools, of course, depending on what you're pushing, whether you're pushing the over 50 homes or you're pushing family rentals or whatever, family apartments or homes, that's going to change the numbers in the schools, and school bonds will have to be passed to raise money. But I will give Brunswick credit. For example, in 2016, there was a school bond issue passed to build some more schools based on the projected needs. And it was supposed to cost the homeowner 3 cents per hundred to pay for the bond. Well, the county did such a good job managing its money, they ate that 3 cents per hundred. The homeowner never saw it.
Get out of here.
That's true. Homeowner never saw a penny of that raise for the entire bond. The county has handled it. I will tell you, the county of Brunswick, though they're one of the biggest growth areas in the nation, when you look at the 100 counties lined up, as far as most expensive tax rate to lowest tax rate, they are 11th from the bottom.
So certainly on the more fiscally relaxed side of things. Yeah,
and they've actually built up a rainy day fund about somewhere close between $80 to $100 million sitting there for major issues with hurricanes and whatever else to handle it on their own base. So the county commissioners have done a great job in managing numbers. They've even put in the new, thanks to what New Hanover did, giving their people raises. Our people are getting raises too, because they don't want to see our people crossing the bridge where the money's better. So our people are saying that, but they've managed that with their budget too. So kudos to the county. And I will tell you something else the county commissioners have done that many people don't know. If you graduate any school from high school in Brunswick County, you go to Brunswick Community College free.
Nice.
And as a matter of fact, Brunswick Community College for the second year in a row has become the #1 community college in the nation, 2 years in a row. But you will go there free if you graduate, and that includes homeschooling. As long as it's done in Brunswick County, you can go to Brunswick County Community College free. Beyond that, the county commissioners have made a deal with a half a dozen four-year schools to include UNC Pembroke, and I don't know who the others are, that if you choose to go on to get your four-year degree and transfer those credits, it's only going to cost you $500 a semester.
Oh, man, that's a way of stretching a buck.
Oh, absolutely. Considering what the costs of college are, you go free for 2 years, get most of your credits built up, transferred to an area you want to go in, and it's going to cost you $2,000 to finish your degree.
And no student loan. I mean, you could be done with it, overdone, paid for easily.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, you brought up one of my worst topics to me, which is student loans. I think the biggest mistake we've ever done in this country is to have the federal government take over student loans. And here's why. Their interest rates were generally higher than the banks because they're using it to fund their budget. Beyond that, the banks at least would look at you and say, you can't borrow $200,000 to go to school because the job you're going for is going to pay $30,000 or $40,000 a year. You can't pay it back. Or go to a cheaper school, not some of the bigger ones. On the other hand, the federal government says, sure, you want the money, come get it. And now you got all these kids running around with debt they may never be able to pay off because they thought it was their money.
I just think it's a bad idea to, entice an 18-year-old kid with $200,000. There's just no connection between the responsibility of taking on credit of that nature.
And they don't know better. They really don't.
They don't. And, you hear the and I'm sure I'm not the only person that partied a little more in college than they should have. Some of that money could have gone to another textbook or something.
I have to admit, I might be guilty with that myself.
So it just doesn't make sense to just hand them $200,000 on a signature.
Yeah, and especially when you know that the area they're going into is not going to raise more than $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in general. They're never going to be able to survive and pay their loans back.
Kind of like being a school teacher, $40,000 in student loans, and no, being a teacher just at the time, because that was my path at the time, and this was, in the mid '80s, and it became stupid expensive really, really fast. And looking at what my future was, as far as paying off student debts, etc., was like, yeah, I need another career path.
And I understand what you're saying, because I am a retired principal. So I've gone through the education path and did my work. And I remember, go back in the dark ages when my first salary coming out of college was $6,300 a year.
And you're like, wow, great. This is almost like working part-time all time.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I always talk to people about. You've got to put things in context to what was going on at the time. $6,300 a year doesn't sound like anything, but when you got to look at the fact that my rent was $143 a month and I was married, I had a brand new car that cost me $4,000. Nowadays that wouldn't be the deposit.
Yeah, no, not at all. And
So,
that growth hasn't exactly matched.
No, it hasn't. It has not. But and that's what I always even talk about when people go back and say, "Well, how could For example, I'm going to go into a very touchy area with the United States and slavery. Obviously a bad thing to have ever happened. And nobody in their right mind thinks it was a good thing. But the world today is still got slavery, and unfortunately, we were the first people. People complained that. We were the only ones doing it wrong. Was it right? No. But you have to look at the context of what was going on at the time in the world. We were the only democracy. The reason that it was even built into the Constitution was not because they wanted it, but because it was something that the North figured they could deal with later. And it took them about 60 years when they got there. It cost the war to fix it. But we have to look at situations, like people say, well, only rich men could vote when their country was first set up. And that's true. But if you look back there, nobody was voting. We were the first country that really had the ability to elect people. And it was given to landowners or someone with X amount of dollars. So that itself was unique and an experiment. And did it go far enough? Obviously not. But it was the beginning. And over the years, we've made it better. And we need to look at that in our context. Our nation is not perfect. By God, it's not. But it gets better every years or every generation when they address a problem and they try to fix it.
Yep, correcting the course all on our own. That's sort of how this thing was built in the first place. We might go a little off the rails here and there, but we have good, safety measures in place to keep us from completely collapsing upon ourselves.
I agree, and I think that and we will swing far to the left, far to the right, but eventually we get back to center course. People will make it happen because people have had enough of either side pushing the extremes, and they want to get back to this is a center, maybe a center right country basically, but it is not a far left or not a far right country, and people can push it either way, but sooner or later enough people will get together to bring it back on course.
And that's my hope. And that's why we have some of these conversations, and certainly the All Things Brunswick program that airs on Tuesday nights, hosted by, well, not next week, but
this week, though.
This week, it'll be hosted by Bill Moore, Dan Roman, and Mary Stillwell. In which case, you've brought on a number of the candidates that are in the primary from all across the spectrum, not just the red shirts, Team Red, or whatever you want to call it. Right?
Yeah, we're bringing on right now. We're concentrating in the primary about getting our own candidates to let our people know, here, you decide which one of these 2 or 3 Republicans running you want to support. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. Down the road, I would tell you it was an interesting conversation. I was having an interesting meeting last week with just stepped down as the county chair of the Democratic Party. And he and I are going to go out for coffee sooner or later. And we're going to talk about, we may not agree on everything, but there's some things that we can talk about to work together on. And we're going to try that.
Nice. That's going to be
so he and I, it's funny because we've never met each other, but we have exchanged barbs on editorials in the local paper. And so we knew each other, and we're both retired military. So we had a nice 2 different meetings this last week. We just talked to each other, and we've agreed that when this is all over, we will sit down and just have some coffee and talk.
Become friends again.
Well, at least understand each other better and find out where we can work together. And if we can do nothing else, I would love to have an election where people just talk about facts and what they're going to do instead of smearing. I mean, I think we're done with that. I'm so done with it, it's ridiculous.
Ideas on how to make things better.
There you go.
Well, one of them, I was wondering if it's possible, and this is maybe, because I'm not a bright kid, but recently I had an incident where I'm on a dark highway after working a night gig, and a semi-truck had blown its tire. And I hit that tire doing about 70 miles an hour, because that's the speed limit. And it caused a great amount of damage to my car because I could not see the black tire on the black road in the black night in the black area that had no light. There was no moonlight, nothing. Would it be difficult to sort of start something where tire manufacturers can coat the inside of a tire with something bright and reflective?
That's actually not a bad idea.
I didn't think so, certainly after I hit that tire doing 70 miles an hour. And I was thinking, boy, if that thing had been reflective, I could have seen it.
Yeah, and actually, they could. There's enough people that would probably like the outer rim of it coated anyway with some color that would be bright and stand out anyway, because they like to decorate their cars.
Right.
It's actually not a bad.
But you could easily just like a quick spray paint on the inside of the, before you mount the tire, you just spray it because it's not going to get hurt, right? It's inside the whole time, but when the tire blows and a huge chunk of it's on the roadway in the middle of the lane,
it's going to be visible.
It's going to be visible. So who do we do? What do we do? How do we do that? Like, I'd like to keep the credit for it and sell candy bars with my face on it if possible, but
the person that we have to go to, because obviously it'll have to be at a national level, we'd have to go to our congressmen and our U.S. senators and suggest that kind of legislation.
Do you know anybody like that?
You mean like Congressman Rouser? Might know him, might talk to him a lot.
Huh. Well, if you would, let him know that I'd like to present an idea to him, or maybe...
As a matter of fact, he's actually talking probably in June, coming on the radio show.
Oh, that would be sweet.
So
and by then...
I don't think he's going to have time to get down here from Washington, but he's more than willing to call in and spend some time with us. So I will talk to one of his people and pass it on, and I'll let you know what happened.
I appreciate it because, one less... Because I know I have to eat that. I have to eat this one. But I would like for less people to have to spend stupid money that they may or may not have on trucks. I mean, I appreciate truckers, etc., and when they blow a tire, it's a pain in the ass. I get it. But, wow. That was heavy.
Yeah, I got you. So anyway, I will talk to Congress Mouse's people this week, and when I see them, and I'll suggest it and see what happens. We'll get back to you.
I appreciate it, man. Well, I think it's time for me to pay some bills right now.
Yep, I think I thank you for having me on. I look forward to talking to you next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having you on every week, Mondays at 8:30 in the All Things Brunswick show. And in 1 week, we get to roast you. That's going to be even more fun. I'm looking forward to that.
I know you won't have the questions that you'll send in. I know that.
I'll be controlling the chat from here.
That's what scares the daylights out of me.
Well, thanks again, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the break. And when we come back, we're going to have some commentary from a friend of mine who can help break down some of what's happening in the weirdness in the world. So please don't go nowhere. Right back on the Asylum.
keeping Wilmington informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. As a Marine Corps veteran, practicing attorney, professor of law, and father of 5, I want to pass on the precious freedoms that we inherited to the next generation. For that to happen, we need judges who will faithfully apply our Constitution and our laws, not rewrite them to achieve specific outcomes. If you share my commitment to liberty, please vote Trey Allen in 2022. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. Paid parking has begun in one area beach town. The town of Holden Beach began enforcing paid parking Sunday, and it will be enforced daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Free parking is available before and after those hours. All parking will use license plates for verification. If you're heading to Holden Beach, download the mobile app Surfcast by Auto. You'll also be able to purchase passes by scanning the QR codes on parking signs. Work is set to begin Monday on a Brunswick County bridge that's nearly a half-century old. The bridge at Mako Road on Highway 87 over Bad Aurora Branch will be demolished and rebuilt. It's expected to slow traffic for the next several months as Mako Road will be closed. Drivers will be detoured onto Highway 7476 and Interstate 140. The $1.2 million project should be finished by the fall. A hero's welcome for veterans of the Cape Fear area at a special event over the weekend at Wilmington International Airport. A large group gathered at ILM to welcome veterans returning home from Washington, D.C. Family, friends, and community members cheered as more than 70 World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War era veterans and their guardians returned from their trip with honor flight of the Cape Fear area. Landing in D.C. earlier in the day, veterans visited the memorials and monuments built in their honor for a day of remembrance. In the western part of our state, streets near the Blue Ridge Parkway wildfire are reopening as the fire gradually becomes contained. According to the U.S. Forest Service, the fire near Asheville has now grown an estimated 370 acres and is 50% contained. The fire, now named the Barnett Branch Fire, has been burning since Wednesday, April 27th. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast, and get ready for a warm week here in the Cape Fear. We're expecting temperatures to climb into the middle and perhaps the upper 80s well inland of the coast today. Coastal areas will reach the middle and upper 70s later this afternoon, and I can't rule out an isolated shower as the sea breeze fires up later today, but most areas will stay dry and quiet. And then overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us as our temperatures drop down to the middle and upper 60s in the low 70s as well. Get your full forecast from WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
Get all your sports action with Tanner Barth on WWAY.
Let's get things started with our full court press matchup of the week.
From the full court press to the fifth quarter and everything in between.
And they say if some is good, more is better this time.
We've got your sports world covered all around the Cape Fear.
Check out the save from the captain, full extension.
This is the place for your sports coverage. WWAY.
O'Leary's Automotive Repair has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum right here on the Big Talker. Your refuge in a world gone mad, joined by our friend Mr. Andrew Donaldson, managing editor of Ordinary Dash Times, and of course the host, producer, and director, all that, of the Heard-Tell radio program, heard every morning at 7 a.m. He's joining us this morning to give us some commentary on a story he does not know is coming his way. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I haven't been this scared since Iraq.
Oh, man, it's good to know I have this kind of power. So this is a story coming out of abc30.com. I don't have an author for it, but I wanted to get your comment on the Alabama school workers who were told they owe $23,000 after being mistakenly overpaid for years. Apparently, a payroll mistake has left consequences for some Alabama school workers. Their employer overpaid them for years and no one knew. But now the school district wants its money back. Christy Payne is a lunchroom manager at a high school in the state. She received a letter from her boss saying her employer had accidentally been overpaying her for the last 6 years, and now she owes them more than $23,000. Somehow, when she was promoted years ago, she was given a salary meant for someone with more experience. At least 2 other employees have come forward saying they got similar letters. The Board of Education website said under the law, board officials are required to recoup any overpayments, but legal experts said the school workers might not have to return the money, especially given how long it's been.
Okay, 2 things. I'm going to be the bad guy here real quick. You know if you're getting overpaid. Let's be adults here. Okay, let's just be adults. If you got overpaid, you knew it, and if you didn't do anything. Now, I'm sympathetic to the fact that if they didn't figure it out on their own for years and years and years, then that just needs to be, that's your fault. Write it off and move along. So I don't know that they should go to recoupment. But I hate to be the bad guy here, but if you get overpaid by $3, you got overpaid. Like let's be adults here. They knew they were being overpaid, especially if you knew you were getting a promotion or a new position. To the dollar what you're going to get, and you knew you were getting more. And you just didn't say anything. I get it. I may not have said anything, but then they're going to come figure it out eventually.
Well, she did get
This
promoted.
Actually happens.
And her first paycheck would have been like, oh, okay, so there's a little difference. Now I know what the difference looks like. She didn't do the math in her head and say, all right, this is how much my.
Nobody in the history has ever gotten overpaid without them noticing they got overpaid. That does not happen.
Or direct deposit, right? She may have never even seen it.
You saw it. Come on now. Who doesn't on payday make sure their payday's in there? Come on now. Now, this happens quite a bit in government service because bureaucracy works so amazingly well. By that, I mean not at all. That they overpay people. It happens in the federal system quite frequently. I remember when I was in the military active duty, they told us, they're like, check your paycheck, because if it's wrong, they're going to recoup it. They'll just zero. It happened to guys all the time. They just get zero paycheck the next month. If you didn't go and work it out with them and straighten it out, they take your whole paycheck. You get a zero paycheck.
The letter
they told us all the time. They're like, no, you have to check your pay, especially when direct deposit first started happening and everything went to computers and everything went to email. It happened a lot, and guys, they had to switch kind of how they did things. They told you up front, they're like, check your paycheck, because if it's wrong, they're going to recoup it immediately, and then you're screwed. So. These things happen, but yeah, I don't buy for 1 second these people didn't realize they got overpaid. I think they thought they just, go along to get along. Now, if they didn't realize it for years and years and years, I'm good with them not having to recoup it, because that means the government screwed up too. But also remember,
who's going to be the bad guy to walk back up to the guy and have everybody's checks ruined?
First of all, this is taxpayer money. This isn't, Elon Musk money. This is taxpayer money. So yes.
No, this isn't Department of Defense money. This is school education budget money.
I'm sorry, school. Oh, come on. Education is second only to the Department of Defense and fraud, waste, and abuse.
Yeah,
so
but don't fly that. It's going to be what, 10%?
Okay, let me throw it to you. Let me just be the jerk here, because I'm in cranky mood this morning anyway. If this person was doing this with their welfare benefits, what would the headline be?
Wait, wheel that up.
If this person was doing this with their welfare benefits, what would that headline be?
I can't put it together.
See? Now, if somebody was collecting extra welfare or extra disability benefits they weren't entitled to, how's that headline change? Same moral
I see.
principle.
Now we're going to start using fraud.
Same moral principle. Well, it is, by letter of law, it is fraud. I mean, that's excessive. I don't think they should be charged. That's not what I'm saying. But by the letter of the law, that's what they did, because there's no way they didn't know. But no, I'm fine. I think this is one where the school system ought to just write it off and move along and not try to make a thing of it, because clearly these people, in the grand scheme of things, it's a massive amount of money to them, but it's a piddling amount to the school system.
Right. It's not like they're vacationing in Cancun as a result of it.
Yeah, they're not doing the Ted Cruz trip. So I would say likesies samesies on this one and move along, but that's just me.
Now, the letter also threatens to add more money to their liability to the total each month that the matter goes unresolved. I bet the lawyers win this one too.
I think some lawyers making sure they got their job for the next fiscal year line item, budget item is what's going on. Some of that, to be fair to this, some of that is required. Like, they're required to do some of that when they find something amiss. So, but anyway.
I just thought that would be amusing little additive, knowing that your parents were both educators. And if they had been overpaid, would they have been the first, do you think, to stand up and ruin it for everybody?
Well, there's always that guy. Usually it's
Right.
the person that didn't. Well, what happens is, like this situation where somebody got promoted, it's usually the person that didn't get promoted that ruined it. They're like, wait a minute, they got fraud. You have to fire them, give me the job now. But apparently that didn't happen here. So I don't know the circumstances. Maybe it's one of those things where they're like the only employee for that slot and they got a bump for 3 years or whatever it is. I have no idea. So I'm just
apparently there were several, but only a couple have come forward. One of them obviously being the most incensed at being required to pay back $23,000, in which case she has three options. $4,000 for the next a lump sum, which everybody has in their pocket. $4,000 a year for the next several years, or have $325 taken out of the paycheck for the next 6 years.
See, well, I mean, I know, like
That's
last
pretty
year,
brutal.
I owed a pretty high tax bill last year just because of changing income levels and whatever. And we put it on a plan. And then, oddly enough, I paid it off this year. I paid off last year's taxes. But, it's those sorts of things that, like, if you know you've got a debt to the government, you've got to stay on top of it, because they're not going to stay on top of it. And someday out in the future, when you done forgot about it, some bureaucrat in some computer somewhere is all of a sudden going to realize that they owe you money, and they're going to use the full force of government to go get that money. And they're going to get their money.
And they're going to bury you in the process.
So anytime you're dealing with the government, whether it's a paycheck or taxes or whatever else, it's on you to make sure your stuff's straight. And if it ain't straight, they're actually pretty good about work. Like, you call the IRS up. It's a pain in the butt, but they'll give you payment plans. They'll work with you as long as you're talking to them. They're usually going to work with you on it. But you better stay, because if you don't get to go, oh, I forgot about it for 3 years, because it may take 3, 4, 5 years for them to figure it out. But somebody's bored enough and somebody's got that job, they're going to figure it out eventually, and they're going to come looking for it, and then they're going to start charging 120% interest, and then your life's wrecked. So if you're dealing with the government, you got to be your own advocate, and you got to stay on top of it, because the government doesn't care about you. They just want their money. So that's my free life advice for today.
And, of course, the entertainment division wants your vote. So we were discussing that with Bill, and early voting is showing less than 1% turnout, which apparently is, we may be super early in this thing, but he seems to think that we should be having a lot more response than we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the midterms are that caustic at this point, even though we have one of the fields, I think, has 11 people in it or something ridiculous.
Oh, it's going to be a mess. In fact, tomorrow's show, hold on 1 second. Jason Downey, who is the chairman of the Georgia State Board of Education, he's down in Georgia. We're going to talk Georgia's primary, which is one of the real primaries to watch. Their early voting starts today, I believe. West Virginia's early voting starts today. They're losing a House seat, so somebody's got to go. They got two sitting representatives running against each other. I think Arizona starts next week. I mean, voting for the primaries is it's on. It's here now. I know Georgia started today. West Virginia starts on the 10th. I misspoke. It starts on the 10th. There's a couple other, of course, here in North Carolina. Our primary is on the 17th. It's very early.
Yep, and we're
so
already
early voting.
voting.
Early voting for North Carolina's open. There's a couple races there to really watch, especially the Madison Cawthorn stuff. Keep a close eye on that. There may be. I talked to some people this weekend, and they're all like, "There's some stuff coming." So just pencil it in. The worst is not yet nigh for young Matty. Maddie's in for a bad week from what I'm being told. So we'll see if that comes to fruition or not.
Now, again, I'm not the smart creature, but is early voting indicative really of any trend, or is this?
No, because the early voting, for one thing, it's a lagging indicator, even though it sounds backwards to say early voting is a lagging indicator. Early voting is because the people that vote are not a set demographic. They have various reasons for voting early. So we haven't really got a good handle on it, especially coming out of post-COVID. So I would be very leery of early voting, any kind of exit polling, any kind of data. I would just be leery of all that because nobody really knows until you get to real votes. So I would be cautious with it. The one thing I would look for on early voting is if it's up or down off of 2020. Because remember, there's a lot of laws changed because what happened when we did the COVID stuff, they had to change how they did elections to modify for COVID. Some places kept those changes, some places took those changes away. So it'll be interesting to see how many people do early voting this time. Also, there's been a lot of redistricting in the country because of the census. So I'm in a different congressional district now. Even though I didn't move houses, my congressional district moved. So went from the 8th to the 7th. So I'm in the 7th now, even though the house didn't move. So you got stuff like that going on. Watch for turnout. See if the turnout is high. If the turnout is high for early voting, we may be in for a fun ride for this midterm. This midterm is going to be ugly. Remember, these are just the primaries too. So once we get locked into the primaries, are there going to be runoffs? North Carolina, the runoff is 30%. So we interviewed Representative Ted Budd a couple weeks ago right here on this program. Can McCrory keep him under 30% so they can get a head-to-head runoff? Assuming the polls are accurate and Budd has a pretty healthy 10-point lead or so, anywhere from 10 to 16 points, depending on which poll you use. Can McCrory keep him under 30% so they can get a head-to-head runoff? Stuff like that's what you're watching for. North Carolina, Georgia. We're going to talk to Jason about it tomorrow. Do not miss tomorrow. Man, we are stacked on guests this week. Gabby Hoffman today, who is excellent. She's on today talking conservation. Jason Downey today. We're going to talk healthcare on Wednesday. Already have that guest. That's already recorded. This is going to be a bang-up week on Her Tell. Y'all got to subscribe to this thing.
You predicted this a few weeks ago that your 1As were already loaded.
Oh, yeah. The election stuff almost writes the show for itself.
And it's good to have smart people who understand that. I have to come with the Mcdonald story.
We're going to talk. I just talked to Gideon Coulter this morning, our election expert we've had on a couple different times. She's going to be coming on the program here in the next few days. I'm doing a thing with her tomorrow night, and then she's going to come on Her Tell. I traded her a 1-for-1, a home and home they call it in football, right? We'll play at your place, we'll play at mine. So Gideon's going to be coming on to talk elections. We're going to dispel some myths like paper ballots, things like this. She works in the polls. She's not just one of these people on TV. Like she does this. She lives, breathes, and eats this stuff. So she's a great guest to have on. Our great young voices, competitors, contributors. We're gonna get somebody back on. There's a mess in the British House of Parliament. Have you heard any about this? About the porn scandal? They caught one of the members of Parliament looking at porn. Now he says he was looking at the. I am not making this up. He said he was searching for the Dominator combine harvester, like you harvest wheat with, and it's called the Dominator. That is not what he was looking at on his phone. They got pictures and everything. He was looking at a different kind of domination that we won't get into because we don't want the FCC checking out our little program. But just, pick up what I'm laying down for you. You'll know where this is going. So he is probably going to be resigning maybe as early as today. But come to find out, when he did this, all the staff started leaking to the press like, oh, yeah, everybody's looking at porn. Everybody's doing this. And, there's all these wild drinking parties after, and there's all this sexual harassment. It's
That's
really
what
becoming
Madison
a giant.
Cawthorn was talking about.
No, he was just in the wrong. I was told directly by one of the best reporters I know that covers Congress that there's some really ugly stuff with Madison coming, and I can't say anything more than that right now. But if this may be a very bad week
well,
for him.
After
we covered
seeing
it on
that
our
picture
show.
of him in lingerie, it can't get much uglier than that.
Oh, I don't care if he wore lingerie or not. I care that he's a bad human being.
Well, true, but still,
if he was a look, if he was a good human being passing good, solid policy wearing lingerie, I would not care one little bit. Pass good good Lord. But I mean, in the sins of our legislative people, that's pretty far. Wearing a white bra after Labor Day is pretty low on the list. Okay, I care about him being a despicable man-child of a human being who is, disgracing and embarrassing the country because he can't behave himself. But apparently there's some really, really ugly stuff getting. We covered this on the show last week. He's being code red. The Republicans have decided to get rid of him. So all this stuff that's coming out now is coming from Republicans because they won't get rid of him, and they're gutless hypocrites. Instead of calling a vote and expelling him, which is what they should do, and put their name on it, he has viable challengers in his primary. Because remember, he tried to change districts to get away from him, and they wouldn't let him. They made him go back to the district. Again, redistricting. This is a big story people have got to cover. A lot of people not voting the same as last time. But anyway, this is the Republican Party trying to get rid of him without getting their hands dirty. The only reason they haven't done this to like a Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody like that is they don't have a viable challenger to do it on. So there's no point, raining fire from above on him. But yeah, he's probably toast. We'll see what happens, but it may be worse than just if some of the stuff that's rumored might be coming out soon on him. It may be more than just electoral trouble that he's in, so we'll see what happens there. But it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, by the way. I'm for all the hell he catches. Enjoy it.
And he can skip the hell on out of town with Mark Meadows and his triple voting.
You know what's funny is they hate each other.
Really?
Like they legit hate each other, but they're just stuck with each other.
I was gonna say I thought they were like codependent at this point.
Well, Meadows is in hock to Cawthorn's dad, financially. It's complicated, but Meadows had his own candidate for that seat, and Madison usurped it and won that race. But the problem was Meadows couldn't really come after him because he owes his dad money. Let's just call it what it is. And then he finally did come around and pay for a PAC ad against him and some other stuff. But they really hate each other, but they're stuck with each other. It's kind of funny. So,
well, this is going to be a fun week. I think we're going to hang on to this ride for a while.
Well, I mean, this is going to go. Here's the thing: these primaries, it's going to go fast now. Like they're one right at North Carolina, the really big competitive states, North Carolina, Georgia. The poll came out in Arizona. Masters out there, who was kind of the heavy MAGA Trumpian candidate that folks thought was going to win, has absolutely imploded because he has, clips favorably comparing himself to Goebbels and crap like that. Yeah, so now he's dropped off. So now that race is wide open. A lot of these races that are really the must-watch races, Pennsylvania's a dumpster fire. Ohio's a dumpster fire. J.D. Vance looks like he might win that. We'll see what happens there. Trump held a rally in Nebraska and talked about how he endorsed J.D. Mandel, which, of course, he endorsed J.D. Vance over Josh Mandel, and he put them together, which Rick Gates thought was hilarious.
Oh, like Tim Apple?
Yeah. So the running joke now is all Ohioans should go vote for J.D. Mandel on their ballots. Just write it in. But I'm kind of with my buddy. I forget who originally came up with it. They said, can we just hold the Ohio Senate seat in abatement, and like Indiana and Kentucky can take turns with it and have like split custody of it until we can get an adult to run for the seat. It's going to be a trip, man. But this is going to go really fast after you get through this week, and it's just primary. Then it's summer, and then you're going to turn around, man. It's going to be the fall. Like this is going to go fast now. But I think on Herdtown, I think the way the Asylum's getting set up, and we've got the new app for Big Talker, we're in really good shape. That app is fantastic. I
Isn't that
downloaded
cool?
it over the weekend. I take it back. I downloaded it on Friday, but I didn't really get to play with it until this week. Like, it's instantaneous. As soon as the show's over, it's on there.
Isn't
It's
that
got
cool?
video. You can do the videos right there without having to go on the wider internet looking for them. You can watch Heard Tell. You can watch the Asylum. You can. I tell you what, my friend, I will brag on you. All Things Brunswick this week. Y'all need to go watch that just for the production quality. The production quality went up about 55 notches. Like, it looks fantastic.
Well, thank you. That's the mobile production rig of the Big Talker.
Man, I mean, that's local news quality. Like, it was shot well. It looked good. I actually enjoyed the music that was on the video feed this morning. I didn't expect that. That was really nice.
That's that's the new feed from midnight to 7 a.m. from the Voice in the Pen.
That was cool. I was listening to the twins, Entangled Dreams, the twin sisters.
Yep.
They're pretty good. They're not bad, man.
And they do a
they need
great
to turn
job.
their-
That's live. That's all live. There's no...
I know it's live. I was getting ready to say, I know it's live because they needed to turn their gain down just a smidge, but just for straight listen. Because I was just listening to it while I was working. I wasn't really watching it. They're really good, though. We should actually get them on the show sometime. But yeah, they're good. So I enjoyed the music. Good stuff happening, buddy.
Yeah, we're working on it. We are working. I'm pushing to have something of an interview show that has some of the local... Because these are all North Carolina area songwriters. Some are here in the Wilmington coastal area. Some...
Hey, you know what? We've got a platform. Let's put the local kids on and give them some run.
That's what
I got
I'm
no
thinking.
problem doing that. Yeah, why not?
And I think they deserve
We do
more
it on
support.
Ordinary Times. We do the culture and politics stuff, but we had a lot of music stuff over the weekend. I've got a guy named, you know what, we need to get him on the show. He's got a great radio voice. He used to be a city councilman too, so he can talk politics. But my buddy Dave, Big DW, we call him Dar Whipple. He just moved down to Florence, so he's local now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's
And I've read
West
a couple
Virginia.
of his pieces.
Yeah, he's really, really good. He writes good music. He's a music fan. He's been a concert goer forever. First piece he wrote for me was actually, he was at the legendary Grateful Dead Rain show in Pittsburgh.
Oh man.
Which everybody that knows what that is knows exactly what I'm talking about. He was there. That was the first piece he wrote for me at Ordinary Times. He's like, "You want me to write about the Rain show?" I'm like, "God, yes." One of the legendary concerts of all time. He was there for that, so he's legit. He wrote about Dire Straits this weekend, a really great, really underrated band in my opinion.
Oh, one of the best guitar players.
Well, they were on MTV so much, I think people kind of never gave them their due for what they really did because, Money for Nothing and what was the other song? The one they did with Clapton. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they had 2 or 3 really big hits, and they had the early MTV success, but people didn't really appreciate their albums and their musicianship and just how good Mark Knopfler is. Like, he's an DW was writing about it this weekend. He's like, anybody that can get Clapton to play rhythm and Phil Collins to play drums and everybody's happy about it, that guy's got talent.
Are you thinking Walk of Life or Sultans?
Walk of Life's one, Sultan's the other one, but there was another one I can't remember now. I actually like Walk of Life, even though the keyboard's annoying on that, but that's another story for another day. But anyway, the point is ordinary-times.com.
Yeah.
We had a lot of music this week. And then in the middle of that, I just mentioned Genya Coulter. She actually wrote a music piece on Naomi Judd, passed away over the weekend.
That was very
I think on
sad to see.
Saturday, I think either Friday or Saturday night. It came out in the middle of the night, so I'm a little iffy when it happened. But she wrote a piece on Naomi Judd, so we ended up having and then I've got another Barney who writes music pieces because he's actually a professor of rock and roll at the college level, believe it or not. How's that for a cool job? He has a piece out on music and art today.
I remember when my college first introduced the very first semester of the history of rock and roll as an actual college credit course, and a lot of parents were incensed that they were paying for their kids to, until they saw where it came from, like where the actual musicians came from, where the sounds came from, blues from Mississippi as opposed to Chicago, as opposed to St. Louis, that sort of thing, which I think really helped open more people to appreciate music as opposed to just turning on the radio and consuming what's being delivered.
The American music story is so good because people just do not realize that you had classical music and then folk music. That's pretty much the only 2 types of music there is until post-Civil War. That's all there is. There's marching band martial music, which that was a little different. Then there was popular music, Yankee Doodle, that kind of stuff. and there was classical music, and that was it. And then after the Civil War, you have this explosion that comes out of the Southern slave gospel sing-along tradition, and that birthed blues music, and that birthed jazz. Like, everything we know about music comes out of that period. Like, absolutely everything we know. Blues, jazz, that's where we started to get rock music from. That's where we get hip-hop from. That's where we get electronic music from. That actually goes back to the same rhythms. I listen to EDM music. You don't think it's tied together. It's the exact same rhythm as those old spirituals from the slave camps. You go listen to it, it's the same beat breaks.
They're just using different sounds.
I know, like, all of our music comes out of that tradition, and it's such a rich tradition that needs to be celebrated. Bluegrass, where I'm from, bluegrass music's huge. That all came,
Then
you
you're
have
going to
the
dig
people
the Brewer Brothers. When they pop on, you will dig them. It's two guys, mandolin, guitar.
Oh yeah, I love traditional music. When they brought that stuff over from Scotland and Ireland and those kind of places, and then it just morphed into bluegrass. And then when you started having the expansion, that Southern gospel blues-based music met it was just magic because it all fits together. It's just amazing. So yeah, we're going to do music on this station.
Yeah,
it's our station. We can do what we want. So we're going to do music.
Well, sir, thank you so much for your time. This has been Andrew Donaldson from ordinary-times.com. Does the Herd Tale program that's every morning.
Which you better not miss, because it is excellent. Today we talk conservation. All the time we spend on conservation.
And you use my favorite word a lot. In fact, you even point it right at her.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic. We're going to have her back again. She has by the way, she's got a great podcast called District of Conservation, because it's based out of Washington, D.C. Great podcast. Go check it out. But Gabrielle Hoffman, she is excellent talking conservation today. Also talk about what's wrong with Russian tanks. Really, really interesting. There's a design flaw, and it comes directly out of being a dictatorship, why they designed their tanks wrong.
Could it be that it's made in Russia?
Well, it's made in Russia, but they don't value their people. And we draw a direct line to why their tanks are getting blown up in Ukraine. We're going to explain that to you. OSHA, remember the Amazon facility in Illinois, got leveled by the tornado and 6 people got killed. Remember that a couple months ago?
Yep.
OSHA has issued their ruling on that. We talk about that. I've spent a lot of time in warehouses as a manager. I deal with that as I would as a manager and discuss that. And a really cool story, we always end on a good note. How about a 105-year-old World War II veteran celebrating his birthday with his 2 buddies who are both over 100 years old? There's something in the water up in that little town in Wisconsin. You got 3 centenarians all living together up there. It's a pretty cool story. So
I don't think it's the water. I think it's the moonshine.
Probably. Jason Downey will be on tomorrow's program. Do not miss it. We talk directly about Georgia from a guy that's we talk about Georgia Education, CRT. He's the chairman of the Georgia State Board of Education. He talks about it with authority because that's his job. And yeah, great stuff.
Here.
Don't miss it. Don't miss it. And healthcare coming up on Wednesday. So we'll see y'all soon. Make sure you subscribe, folks.
That's why we're here. I mean, it's an amazing show. That's why I'm very proud to run it every morning at 7 and every afternoon at 3, plus the twice on Sunday, the curated extracts of interviews of the previous week condensed into one afternoon starting at 8 in the morning and replay at 2 in the afternoon every Sunday.
By the way, if you missed Friday's show with Sarah Rump talking about Disney and Florida, go listen to it. Either listen to the Good Talks, which is just her, or listen to the whole episode, because it's pretty much her for the whole episode. She lays it out, the legal end of that. The way it's being covered isn't correct. She lays out the legality of it. Disney versus Florida. Do not miss Sarah Rump from Friday's show. Go back and find it. It's excellent.
You don't have to go back and find it. It's at your fingertips on that amazing new app on your phone.
It's on the app, but make sure you're subscribing to it too, so you get it every single morning. It'll come right in your box.
Boom.
I'm telling you that you've got to listen to that interview with Sarah Rump from Friday. It is information you're not getting anywhere else.
And it only takes a click, a like, a share, and no money, no time. It's amazing.
So, we spend a lot of time on it, but
we do. But for the people to make, to reward us, all you got to do is click like and share.
We've got it running smooth now, man. I've been getting it in early. I haven't been late in a week. Knock on wood. We'll see how it goes.
Me
all right,
this
buddy.
Morning.
I got to bounce. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you right after this break here on the Asylum. Your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker. During the break, you may want to take a moment to download the app for your Android, Apple device, and enjoy everything that Andrew was just describing. It's amazing. Anyway, see you in just a minute. Don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. Paid parking has begun in one area beach town. The town of Holden Beach began enforcing paid parking Sunday, and it will be enforced daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Free parking is available before and after those hours. All parking will use license plates for verification. If you're heading to Holden Beach, download the mobile app Surfcast by Otto. You'll also be able to purchase passes by scanning the QR codes on parking signs. Work is set to begin Monday on a Brunswick County bridge that's nearly a half-century old. The bridge at Mako Road on Highway 87 over Bad Aurora Branch will be demolished and rebuilt. It's expected to slow traffic for the next several months as Mako Road will be closed. Drivers will be detoured onto Highway 7476 and Interstate 140. The $1.2 million project should be finished by the fall. A hero's welcome for veterans of the Cape Fear area at a special event over the weekend at Wilmington International Airport. A large group gathered at ILM to welcome veterans returning home from Washington, D.C. Family, friends, and community members cheered as more than 70 World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War era veterans and their guardians returned from their trip with honor flight of the Cape Fear area. Landing in D.C. earlier in the day, veterans visited the memorials and monuments built in their honor for a day of remembrance. In the western part of our state, streets near the Blue Ridge Parkway wildfire are reopening as the fire gradually becomes contained. According to the U.S. Forest Service, the fire near Asheville has now grown an estimated 370 acres and is 50% contained. The fire, now named the Barnett Branch Fire, has been burning since Wednesday, April 27th. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast, and get ready for a warm week here in the Cape Fear. We're expecting temperatures to climb into the middle and perhaps the upper 80s well inland of the coast today. Coastal areas will reach the middle and upper 70s later this afternoon, and I can't rule out an isolated shower as the sea breeze fires up later today, but most areas will stay dry and quiet. And then overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us as our temperatures drop down to the middle and upper 60s in the low 70s as well. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Only one candidate for clerk of court has the experience needed to keep our courts running efficiently and criminals off our streets. That candidate is conservative Republican Catherine Adams. Adams has a 20-year record of accomplishments, including serving as deputy director of the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts, where she was responsible for the oversight of the human resources and financial management for all 6,200 employees of the state court system and personally managed hundreds of employees and tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. She's also been awarded the state's highest civilian award, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for her public service. That's why Clerk of Court Jim McCallum says Catherine Adams is the one person most qualified to be our next Clerk of Court. Early voting begins on April 28th, and the primary election is on May 17th. So remember to vote for experience, vote for leadership, vote for qualifications, and vote for proven conservative Republican Catherine Adams for Brunswick Clerk of Court.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Catherine Adams, Clerk of Court.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge right here in a world gone mad. On the Big Talker Network with the new, improved, updated app for Android and iOS devices. And for you super savvy, cool people, you can Bluetooth your phone to your car and enjoy the Big Talker anywhere and everywhere you go. Having a nice, relaxing Monday morning. We already know it's going to be manic, crazy, and nuts. Everybody else going off the rails, and, you know, that's why we're not like everybody else. In fact, I'm going to take a moment to revel in that and explain what it means to have freedom. Being an independent radio station, we are free to run the programs that we like. And we used to run a bunch of programs that was pretty popular, but it wasn't helping. Now we're creating content and products, if you will. I mean, our product are radio programs and podcasts, and people seem to enjoy them. And they are in, as Andrew pointed out, amazing quality, because I'm involved. It's an entire expression, I guess you could say. And being involved in the Voice in the Pen project, which is basically a songwriters cooperative, and working with amazing players, performers, singers, songwriters from, I don't think we've had one outside of North Carolina. And most of them are within our area. A few folks have traveled from Raleigh and Greensboro and other places, and we are ritually rewarded for their appearance, really. And since I've been involved, it's I'm very much about creative arts. I'm not very good at it myself. I mean, I can do a pencil drawing. And I can dance like my medications are out of balance, right? I sing like a hippopotamus that's just been hit in the groin. And, but I'm pretty good with the tech stuff. And each one is a challenge. Sometimes we do it as a showcase where each performer or duo, group, whatever, is performing as their own identity. And sometimes we do it in a round where each person takes a turn, right? There's 4 people up there, and each one plays a tune, and you go through. And as I started to amass the material from the 3 or 4 shows that I've done with them, I thought, wow, what can I do with this material? Because it's just sitting here not being listened to, idly sitting on my hard drive. How can I change that? And I have a whole bunch of programming from midnight to 6 a.m. that I would say very few people are listening to, some of which is not the most current material we have to offer. And I thought, maybe for those people getting up early, getting themselves ready to tune into the Big Talkers broadcast day starting around 7 o'clock with the Heard Tell radio program, maybe they might enjoy some area singer-songwriters. All genres, from country to, I guess, emo metal on acoustic. I thought he did a fantastic job. Stephen Chops Wood is definitely some material unlike anything else. And at first you may not whoa, wait. Give it a minute. I guarantee you it's going to go down smoother than cereal with orange juice on it. Or cereal or orange juice toothpaste or anything like that. Just, it's a pleasant experience. You just have to inure initially. It's really a lot of fun to get into, and being able to pretty much at random just come up with an idea of how can I get this material out there so that more people are exposed to it. And hey, why not run all of that material, which is going to grow, right? We're doing another show this Wednesday. You can check out the live stream on the Big Talker this week, in fact, both on the YouTube and the Twitters and Facebook, that's right, as well as the Voice in the Pen and my own YouTube channel, because, it is my production, and I'm pretty proud of it. It's a team effort, definitely. CB and Emily do a lot of the curating, making sure that we have performers week after week after week, and we have a place to do it week after week. Waterline Brewery most often, and once a month we do the gig at Ted's on the River. Or Live at Ted's, rather. That's the new name of the club. The whole vibe is the same, just warmer. it's getting a little age to it, and it's getting some character, some history to it. And it's going to be fun, because think about it. Every song that you've ever sang along to was once written. And usually it's written by a singer-songwriter, in which case we have a lot of singer-songwriters right here in North Carolina. And hey, isn't that convenient? How can we get some of those people a little, do you really have to go on some reality TV show? I mean, they're selling cars, carpets, and candy bars at your expense. If you really want to be a singer-songwriter, dive in. Go look at thevoiceandthepen.com. Excuse me, voiceandthepen.com, not The Voice and the Pen. That'll get me in trouble. Voiceandthepen.com, www. And sing along. Well, you can't, because these are original material, and if you haven't listened to it, you can't sing along until you start listening to it. And once you do, I guarantee you're going to be tapping your toe and having a great time. And the cool thing about the entire vibe, like any given record store, maybe not every record is for you. Maybe not every song or performer is for you. But we've got everything up there. We got it mellow. We got piano pieces on there, guitar pieces, which is, most dominant. It's a lot easier to carry a guitar than it is to carry a piano. I tell you that much. Hell of a lot easier to carry a guitar than it is to carry a cello. Certainly for an 11-year-old getting bullied at the bus stop. But hey, I digress. No matter how much they tortured and beat me then, it would never crush my spirit to support live music. Certainly live original music. It's important stuff. Expressing our humanity, that people like myself who are not gifted at expressing that can certainly support and appreciate those who can, and use that as a sense of relationship of that emotion. I mean, that's why we watch movies. We relate, we escape. Same thing with music, same thing with art. It's meant to make us reflect. Right? It's the expression of our humanity. Like the Mapplethorpe, right? Remember, I don't know if everybody remembers that insanity. I can't tell you what pornography is, but I can tell you what it is when I see it. I know when I see it. Yeah, right. I mean, now we've entered the world of subjectivity, which is the whole idea behind art in the first place. All the arts, dancing. I mean, I don't understand the nutcracker insanity year after year, because there are thousands of ballets, but only one seems to qualify for the holiday season. I don't understand that. I think that's almost like a bias of some sort. But that's true for a number of the songs that we only dust off, thank God, for 2 to 3 weeks out of the year. Some radio stations start at Thanksgiving. Please stop. But true freedom is the ability to tune away from that and into things like The Voice and the Pen, something you've never heard before, something new. Right? How do you know if you like Brussels sprouts or not until you've tried them? I tried them. I don't like them. I like avocados, but I didn't know that until I tried one. See how that works? Same with the music. As Andrew pointed out, he caught a little bit of the Entangled Dreams set before the show started this morning. Wow. He'd experienced them before, but I guarantee you a little later today he's going to be listening to the Brewer Brothers. Amazing pair of brothers. I can't remember their first names at the moment. Guitar, mandolin, harmonies, old school, right? Like when they would step up and step back from the microphone all on their own. Amazing players, incredible performance. And that's just, that's part of The Voice and the Pen. That's why we do this. And CB and Emily, like I said, do a fantastic job of making sure the word gets out, making sure we have performers lined up, making sure we have venue and merchandise and information, and that we're, growing and expanding and adding stuff week to week. And it's, local support, local ideas, local people, and hey, get involved. We'd love to have you. Because it's a lot of fun, right? No matter what venue we're in, whether it's live at Ted's or the Waterline Brewery, both are great listening rooms set up for us, right? We live stream it. In case you want to catch it later, it'll be available on the Big Talker app, I think. We're working on that part, but I know it'll be available on the YouTubes. And it's fun to have the type of freedom to play with the technology that knowing I know how to run a radio station is kind of cool, especially given the satellite receivers and the network, breaks and all the triggers and the I/O commands and RS-232 interfaces and protocols for doing this, that, and the other thing. But to be able to put all that technology and information and knowledge to use to support people right here in town. Artists right here in town. And I think that's a pretty, it's important to me. Always has been. And as the saying goes, it won't matter to you until it's important to you. And I think one of the overall ideas I would like to have for the Big Talker is that we want things that are important to matter and to help you understand why it's important to you. Education, politics, voting, for Christ's sake, 39% apathy rate. People that don't vote, now I'm good. Right? The last 12 years, 8 years, 6 years, whatever you want to call it, last 2 years could have been a lot different if we didn't have such an apathetic voter base that doesn't even bother to vote. They're the ones like me that are upset that you can't buy beer on that Tuesday. Look, if I'm going to vote, you should let me be hammered. That's how most of the policies are made in the first place. Right? If you haven't seen Drunk History with Mike Rowe, then you don't know how the Constitution was written. Right? So we have a history and a relationship with this. If you're going to write the laws when you're hammered, I should be able to vote on those laws when I'm hammered. I mean, if we're going to be free and freedom and all that good stuff, come on now. I should be free to completely blast my brain before I go in and pick the least of the evils presented before me to represent me and ruin my life. I'm kidding. That's the pessimistic, apocalyptic, dystopian view. But some would say that I'm not wrong, so there's that. So yeah, enjoy the freedom that is the Big Talker. Lots of good programming, like following this program, Consumer Choice. Ariel Sosky, one of the other, well, I should say the probably lead genius in this family of radio weirdos, wackos, nut jobs. He and David Clement out of Canada. Yael himself is stationed in Europe, or based in Europe, I should say. And they have a very global view of consumerism, which, is pretty indicative of, how the world works. A lot of us here in America, certainly myself, seem to have a very almost myopic view of how everything works. That, what do you mean not everybody's got a Walmart? Right? I mean, how do you not have... How did McDonald's get banned from so many countries? I mean, besides the fact that we pointed out their food is completely inedible, even after 50 years, no other creature, bug, mammal, rodent wanted it at all. That was in 1959. Even if it was 1960, that's been over 60 years. It's been sitting in that bathroom wall. Didn't rot, didn't stink, nothing. That's the old way, ladies and gentlemen. The new way needs to be fresh, which is why we bring the singer-songwriters, and I made that administrative decision to bring that cool stuff to you. So, yeah, look for it. Every morning, midnight to 7 a.m., a little longer on the weekends, because we like to sleep in. I'm not going to lie, man. You know, I'm running most of this by myself, and I like to sleep in a little bit. I've been doing the herd tell all morning. I've been, you know, I earned my cookie. That's the way that goes. Deal with it. But it is a lot of fun, and exercising that freedom is you know, liberating in a way. Knowing that I'm actually, you know, I can't say making a difference, but making an effort towards the difference that I would like to see. I'm trying to be the change I want to see. I want to see more art. Whether it's art you like or art you don't like. More art. And just a fun point, Crayola crayons crank out more art per pound than all other creative mediums combined. I read that a few years ago in a factoid article. And I thought it was reflective that we don't encourage that artwork past the point that the kid can, I don't know, play video games or feed themselves. It doesn't seem like we encourage the creativity that finger paints and crayons provide. Now, granted, finger painting does create its own chaos, but it also creates neural connections that are going to be immensely beneficial later in life. And it just seems like the current entertainment opportunities and informational tidbits for children seems to be anesthetizing the third eye of our youth. They aren't necessarily challenged in the same ways that we were. Some people still say that these games, you know, require the perseverance and such, and I'm thinking it's not the same. It's not the same as being presented with a challenging situation and having to adapt and overcome and build that confidence to be able to face each of those challenges, so that later in life, when they're facing real challenges, the birth of a child, etc., the mortgage on a home, they have a more well-rounded understanding of what they're getting into. And I think the arts help us understand some of that through the human nature, right? It's undefeated. And we can see ourselves expressed in art. We can relate and understand that we're not alone, that we have other people that have similar feelings. And it helps reconnect our humanity so that we can stop with this ridiculous divide. All of them. I mean, you can pick one, whatever axis you want to choose, more than one if you want. I mean, that's how demographics and marketing work, the whole basis of it. But to get back in touch with our humanities, we need artists, we need performers, we need things like the voice and the pen to remind us of that. So I'm pretty proud of not only being a part of that, but being able to exercise my unique position here at the Big Talker to commandeer 6 hours a day and dedicate it to area singer-songwriters, original material, original music, live performances. Currently, we don't have plans of running. I mean, a lot of these folks are releasing records. I recommend you go look for them. They're on Spotify and all the other platforms that you kids listen to. They also release CDs. They usually bring them to our shows so that you can purchase them right there. Right? We have information for them on the show, so you and on the websites and the Facebooks and all the stuff you kids use. So you can support them directly and support the voice and the pen. And support the Big Talker for supporting the voice and the pen, for supporting local singer-songwriters. That's how it works. But unlike the fish in the Cape Fear River, as all of these interactions are going on, Mercury is not building up in the fatty tissue. That's encouraging. You should take that one and run with it. That one's definitely bonus, right? I think so. And it's good for you. It's healthy for you. And it's low in mercury. So, ladies and gentlemen, this week, if you have an opportunity, get out. Support live music. Support local music. All of it. I mean, the original music, again, every song you've ever enjoyed singing along to was once an original music that nobody knew. Even this crap, I just made this so that YouTube will stop with the copyright strikes. So, enjoy it. I'm sure we'll be using more and different material moving forward, but in the meantime, I'm just going to keep making stuff like this so that I don't get in trouble with the bots over there on the YouTube. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that closes out another broadcast day here at the Asylum, your one and only refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Thank you so much for your time. Please visit all our stuffy stuff, the websites, the apps, and all that, and reach out, send us an email with any comments, critiques, questions, comments, or concerns. We're here to make it better, and we will see you tomorrow right here.
Keeping Bald Head Island informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Tune in to the WWAY News at 6 p.m.
Thank you for joining us tonight for your news at 6. I'm Hannah Patrick.
I'm Randy Aldridge. We want to get straight to our WWAY team coverage of last night.
For the biggest and most compelling stories that make a difference.
On the scene shortly after the blaze began and has the story now.
Leland is one of the fastest growing towns in the country.
First court appearance this morning in Pender County.
WWAY News at 6 p.m. This is the place.
There has never been a better time to go to college. Class of 2021 high school graduates, you don't want to miss this. You may be eligible to have your tuition and fees covered at Cape Fear Community College for 2 years, beginning this fall through the North Carolina Longleaf Commitment Grant. This is money that does not need to be repaid and covers tuition toward a degree or towards transfer credit to a 4-year school. This is your chance to make it happen at CFCC for free. Find out more at cfcc.edu/NC Grant.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Hi, this is Justin Humphrey